I would write things like, I am love, I am courage, I am fearless, I am a family person, I am a creator, I am abundant, I am beautiful. 6 months into that process, I started writing, I am light every day.
Welcome to the Humanity Code Conversations. I'm Heidi Lawrenson, and today we'll explore another perspective on intentionally shaping the future with AI, where our technology amplifies our shared humanity rather than diminishes it. Today's guest is Payam Safa, a visionary entrepreneur and community builder who's merging innovation with purpose and light to create meaningful impact. As the founder of Light DAO, a global Web3 community of over 2,000 conscious leaders and investors, Payam's on a mission to expand collective consciousness and build a regenerative future. He's also the founder of Obi, the world's leading ride-hail aggregator, and Possibility School, an emotional intelligence platform nurturing the next generation of conscious leaders. From programming satellites to building tech solutions that connect people, Payam's career reflects a rare blend of technical expertise, heart-led vision, and a relentless drive to elevate humanity's potential. Today, we'll explore his journey, philosophy, and how he's redefining what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world, especially one being radically transformed with and by AI. Payam, it's so great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
So great to be here with you, Heidi, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. Your work emphasizes, everything that you've done emphasizes the importance of expanding collective consciousness, as I've just mentioned. What do you mean by that? And why do you think it's especially important now?
We can go into the philosophy, but now is non-existent and eternal. And so we are always living this eternal experience. And the now in terms of where we are in human evolution and civilization, if we look back historically over the thousands of years of times of Abraham, Moses to Jesus and the prophets and a lot of holy wars and everything, humanity has learned how to live together and create together despite the wars and violence that still riddle our society. We are at this inflection point where with AI and technology, we're able to solve a lot of these systemic issues that continue to be prevalent, especially with wars in Ukraine, Russia, and Israel, and Palestine, etc. We have an opportunity to come together at scale, leveraging these tools and technologies. And when we talk about what expanding consciousness means, if we look at it from a oneness standpoint, that consciousness expansion is you can call that global unity, coming towards truth or oneness of this experience that we live. And when we have trust in humanity and we can actually connect each other, where we can connect people and things at accelerated rates, where trust typically takes a long time. When we talk about trust, usually trust is built over time, right? So when there's two people building a relationship and that relationship is based on alignment of values, those alignment of values over time is how trust is formed. With AI, we can now accelerate trust creation, because if there's two trusted nodes that we're able to say, we hear the values of person X, here are the values of person Y, and there's a full alignment in those values and mission and shared purpose. And by connecting those two people with the tools and technologies, we can actually accelerate the building of trust and collaboration towards more abundance, of sharing these knowledges and resources and capabilities. So part of that expansion of consciousness is also connecting trusted nodes of consciousness. And when we connect trusted nodes of consciousness, we are able to accelerate how we're able to resolve all these systemic issues, now, today.
That's beautiful. You touch upon two things that we should probably dig into more in a bit: trust and vision. I mean, they are, trust is being so eroded right now, and vision, the lack thereof, I think is one of our biggest challenges right now in terms of creating a world with AI. If we don't know where, how we're shaping it and what we want it to help us do, it will learn only from our past. One thing that I'd like to dive into next, though, because it's just, I associate it with you, and that is your philosophy that we are light, and that every experience manifests light's properties. So can you walk through what that means, how you came to that, and how does, the awareness of this view inform leadership and maybe even organizations and just, kind of general human existence in this world now with AI?
This journey of light is something that we're all on this journey together. Again, to talk about from a religious standpoint, in the Bible or the Torah, light is often referred to as God. They're interchangeable. When we open up our eyes, light or photons are hitting our eyeballs. But that kind of inflection point happened for me about 3 years ago, where I had a daily journal practice where I would write gratitude and affirmations, and I still continue this practice every day. I actually think it's the most powerful 1 minute a day that we could spend for ourselves, and I generally recommend it to anybody to spend a minute a day to verbally and outwardly express at least a couple, 2 to 3 things that we're grateful for every day, and 2 or 3 positive affirmations through I am statements. So when I started this practice 3 years ago, I would write things like, I am love, I am courage, I am fearless, I am a family person, I am a creator, I am abundant, I am beautiful. 6 months into that process, I started writing, I am light every day. And I was thinking to myself, this is interesting. Why am I writing the words, I am light every day? And then I continued to think, well, if I'm writing it and I'm affirming it, it's not that I'm just writing it and affirming it. I am light. And if I am light, what the F is light? So I just started examining light from a light bulb, light from a flashlight, light from a laser beam, light from a candle, light from the sun.
Love that curiosity.
Yeah, well, if I'm light and then there's all this other light, what's the relationship? So after continuous journaling, meditation on about just the experience of light, I came into the awareness of the simplicity of it. All light is only doing 4 things, which I call the 4 properties of light. 1, light has direction. 2, light is intersecting with all the other light in infinite directions, all that infinite intersection. And 3 is light just keeps going its direction. When it travels through space, it doesn't end. Call that eternity. And 4, light is always going where it hasn't gone before, in that direction it's going. We call that light and dark, and duality is 1. All light is doing these 4 things. And every experience that we all have is a manifestation of light in these 4 ways. And there are infinite examples of how light is in these ways in our experience. I can give a couple examples, and I won't go into all of it. I've written a paper, as you mentioned, Heidi, on light philosophy, which is titled "We Are Light." But just to give a few examples, we all have memory of the past and vision into the future. That is a manifestation of light having direction. Our soul feels love. Love is another manifestation of the direction of light. our soul also experiences and feels fear. Fear is a manifestation of the absence of light, or you can say light is always going where it hasn't gone before. The infinite emotions on that spectrum between love and fear is a manifestation of light intersecting with light in infinite directions in the absence of itself now. As I mentioned, when we close our eyes, we experience that darkness. And when we open our eyes, our eyeballs are photon receptors. So everything that we're receiving in our field of vision is light emanating in the shadow of ourselves. There's a word called enlightenment with the word light in it, which is our awareness of being light. We're all on that journey together. It's the 0 to 1. We come out of our mother's womb, birth, you can call that part of the 0, death, you can call that 1. And when we talked about expanding collective consciousness, it's also as a collective on 0 to 1. You can call 0 the moment of the creation of chaos and 1 the moment of unity and oneness. So this collective human civilization journey is also on that journey of collective consciousness, oneness, and unity, with peace, love, and light transcending through the darkness that continues to emanate. So this is a little bit of the background on the philosophy of light, and we can talk about how that kind of unfolds in conscious leadership and other things.
As you talk through the 4 properties of light, it's really, kind of what we're being called to do right now because of AI. One is just to be really clear on that direction, right? Where do we want to take this super powerful partner, have it, go with it. So that direction. And then, the intersection, I envisioned, how important it is right now to bring together the intersection of different perspectives and views and life's experiences so that we can ensure that we are shaping AI in a way that serves us all, right? And, it keeps going. That's kind of what we have to do. And AI will just also keep developing with or without us, which is all the more reason that we have to, be intentional around how we're shaping it right now. And the last one, when you just mentioned it, going where it hasn't gone before, that's kind of where we are right now. And because we just don't know where things are going to go. We can do our best at shaping it. How in that vein, and feel free to comment on any of that, but just on that last part, what do you think that the role of light plays in the light within us is in terms of making sure that while it's going where it hasn't gone before, that it's going to a good place? Because what's in people's minds right now is views of the Terminator, views of job loss, views of just confusion, right? This is a totally unprecedented experience.
Every human being is a manifestation of a unique dimension of light in a direction. So we are all intersecting and also one at the same time, going where we haven't gone before, collectively together. How that direction is being more intentional. So there's intention in this consciousness. So the more conscious we are, the more we're creators. We're creating AI with intention, with the direction of the alignment of one. And that is also being developed based on trust. And love, another way to say it, is the highest vibrational emotional frequency of light. Fear is the lowest vibrational emotional frequency of light. And when we think about developing AI, we can also think, well, what's OI? Organic intelligence, not artificial. And our organic intelligence is our being. This consciousness of light is being, as human beings are. And our being is a composition of our values. When we think about all the universe of values that exist, love, compassion, trust, honesty, loyalty, integrity, curiosity, growth, adventure, optimism, spirituality, openness, presence, authenticity, there's many, many amazing values.
Yes, please, to all that.
Your top five, my top five is what makes our being unique. And that is also part of that organic intelligence. So everything that we're thinking, feeling, and doing is a manifestation of our being of values. The words that come out of our mouth, which we train all the LLMs on, you can call that 2 degrees of separation away from the being of values, because the being that's manifesting all the thoughts, feelings, and actions then has expressions through words. And then as light beings, we're mirrors for one another. We're all intersecting and reflections of one another. So everything reflects back into ourselves. Our values are updated, our being is evolved. And that is the regenerative cycle of being that we're living. So part of that direction is intentionality. Because again, the more we're expanding our own individual consciousness, as the collective consciousness is expanding with each of our individual expansion of consciousness, we come into the awareness of the creation and the power of our creation and the power of the intentionality of our creation in the direction of love and abundance and authenticity and openness and compassion and contribution and being in service, which I call the values of light. So when we program the AI from an OI of intentional, conscious, higher levels of consciousness, we are essentially developing that AI to be at the highest vibrational frequencies of consciousness. And when we are developing that AI coming from the OI of light, we are directionally creating this paradigm that's built on trust, love, and connection in ways that can transcend the fear, the hate, the violence, and the scarcity around the world.
That's the part I was just going to kind of double down on, because this concept of being intentional around how we train at bringing the light is ideal, and yet certainly not everyone on the planet is, showing their light. And there is a lot of darkness. There are bad actors. And I think, the challenges that confront humanity right now are more human based than technology based. It's really what we do with it, what we put into it, as you've been talking about. How can we, I guess, scale that light, and how, just in the reality that we are in, and knowing that we have to go from 0 to 1, or from this point where we are to where ideally we'd like to be, how do we do that?
Yeah, I think part of what my mission is with Light DAO is really fine-tuning who in the world are those highly trusted people, right? And again, trust is historically based on time. Trust is 2 inputs: time spent and alignment of values. I mentioned that. So when we're having leaders in AI develop these new models and these new products and tools, there's a question of how trustworthy are they? Are they developing that AI with the highest levels of integrity, where there's, if you say, look, there's lower levels of consciousness, fear-based, scarcity-based, violence or hate, pride-based, things like that. And when we say we want to intentionally ensure that we are not just having high trust and high integrity, but a value system that is empowering more co-creation. And part of that is if we look at the world today, just thinking about in the US, we have two parties that are completely at odds. And if you look at a map of how this two-party system has evolved over the last 60 years, you could see that the Republican and Democratic parties were like one blob, and you could see some red and some blue intermixed. And slowly over time, they're actually dispersing into two completely separate like isotopes of energy. And that has to do with how there's like values alignment in these things that are separating. So people are gravitating towards two different value systems. We could say, well, values are values. Values are beautiful. It doesn't matter if you're pro-life or pro-choice. They're both beautiful values. One person might value one more than the other. Now, both of those are not wrong or bad. They're just different value systems. So when you come from a perspective of light, you're thinking uniformity. You're thinking creating a paradigm and creating structures and economic systems and political systems and governmental systems that are encompassing these differences and these different value systems, while collectively also coming together and saying, this is how we can actually co-create and support this system, understanding these differences all at the same time. Coming back, because I kind of circled around there, is, we have AI leaders, right? And each of them have amazing work that they're doing. I'm talking to companies like Versus AI with Dan Mapes, or the Singularity Net team with a lot of the AI that they're building, or there's this Angel AI twin protocol. And everybody that I'm speaking to on this, where I'm calling a trusted node of consciousness, that is also being referred by other trusted nodes of consciousness. So if I'm aligned in light values with somebody, and that person is aligned in their light values with somebody, and then I get connected to them, we can say, okay, well, that's a trusted connection. And if somebody does something to lose integrity in that trusted connection, then there's, you can call it a trust score that's in the system that's now aware as a collective. So each of our trusts in the network is also in expansion, while there could be movements in a direction with trust based on how much integrity is being maintained. So we're actively with Light DAO bringing these nodes of consciousness, and also saying, okay, who may have been out of integrity in this moment, and over time making sure that we can all align and have these kind of safety rails or guardrails on ensuring that we're moving towards this paradigm of more light than fear or darkness.
So practically speaking, Light DAO, which you founded, is a community-driven organization, but it's built on Web3. And it is a DAO. A DAO stands for decentralized autonomous organization. And it's using blockchain for governance and, creating those scores and, the tracking. So it's a model for Light DAO. Do you see these decentralized technologies then playing a broader role in helping us ensure that, that collectively we are intentionally shaping the future in a way that benefits us all?
So part of the way the network works is, I was actually just having this conversation a little bit ago. We kind of swim in lanes, right? Like humans are simple and complex at the same time. The simple part is, if there's a reward or incentive structure to do particular things, we follow those breadcrumbs, right? So you could say, like, if you put $1 million thing on doing a particular thing, a particular action that's not too complex of an action, then everybody will go and do that. Like right now, if you take like another example, like the US, a lot of people look at the US as the wealthiest country on the planet. And given that wealth, we have a lot of subsidies and programs in place that can help lift that upward mobility from a poor state to a level of sustenance and sustainability such that you're not purely operating out of scarcity. You can actually operate from a place of something that's not just scarce. So you can have the potential upward mobility into higher levels of abundance and higher levels of consciousness. Now, the US as an organization arguably is, again, the leader in that, which then says, okay, well, if you have that incentive structure there, well, then everyone's going to try to enter the US, which is why we have this immigration issue that is surfacing in our elections and a lot of the political conversations. So again, this comes back to, well, there's this reward or incentive. And yes, if you have that, then you're naturally going to gravitationally pull the energy in that direction because that's where the reward and incentive structures are. Okay. Now, bringing it back to DAOs and decentralized organizations, it's similar. Every DAO, and I'll talk about Light DAO specifically, we have a reward and incentive structure to empower the alignment or the creation of value in alignment with values of self. If you remember what I said, our being is a composition of our values. Then there's the creation of values in potential alignment or misalignment with our own values. The more we're creating value in alignment with our values, the more abundant, happy, fulfilled we are for each one of us and then humanity at large. So then the question is, well, how can you empower alignment of creating value in alignment with the values of self? Well, then we start talking about time and how we spend our time. In this human experience, we spend our time every day. We spend our time in relationship. 100% of our time every day is spent in relationship with self and relationship with others. That's 100% of our time. And in this time that we spend in relationship with self and others, again, we're all yearning for more love in these relationships. We want to love ourselves more and not be hard on ourselves. Even though we are our own harshest critics, we deep down want to love and not be our own harshest critics, even though that's part of the duality. And also in relationship with our friends, our family, our life partners are, business partners, etc. So if we're creating value for the people that we're values aligned with the people that we're values aligned with, then we're doing life in relationship with self and others in a way where we're just doing life with people that we're values aligned with. And also then you're creating value within that domain. So Light DAO has very specific rewards or incentives, or, you can call it money, right? Which for us, our currency is light tokens, right? So the more somebody does something or actions that are in alignment with value creation with this concept, the more light tokens they receive. I like to say the more love given to the DAO, the more light one becomes, or one light receives through the currency of light, which is the currency of the DAO. So kind of ribbon on this bow of this question. So DAOs are a framework for communities to have specific rewards or monetary rewards for doing particular actions. So that's where the DAOs, if I define it kind of more broadly, is if you think of every DAO as a community and every community as an ecosystem. So every ecosystem has stakeholders within that ecosystem. And a DAO is an ecosystem composed of many stakeholders where each of those stakeholders have an alignment of values and mission. And then there's an exchange of value within that ecosystem between the stakeholders, such that every party or every stakeholder on that ecosystem is incentivized to co-create more value in alignment with the values and the mission of that ecosystem or the DAO. So that's fundamentally what a DAO is and how Light DAO is structured. And yes, I believe that the more we have DAOs that are operating in this kind of environment where it's empowering more co-creation and more value exchange in alignment with the North Star of that community, as long as it's not doing bad or harm for society or for humanity, it will help uplift the age of AI, blockchain technologies, and the future towards these higher levels of abundance.
One thing I know you often say is purpose meets passion generates profit. And, it's kind of an extension of what we've been talking about. Can you share an example or a couple examples from either ventures you've been specifically a part of or members of Light DAO? You touched upon a couple already where this alignment led both to tangible business success, because that is kind of the world and the incentives that we're living in right now, as well as meaningful impact. And examples in AI would be awesome.
Well, the first example that came to me is a company that we're going to be investing in, which is called PrimeVax. And Tony Chen, who's the founder of that company, has been a kind of a biologist, biotech, background, and him and his team have, call it the passion, right? It's the love of the work or the thing that you're doing, right? So the passion is the love of the thing, and the purpose is the knowing self or knowing your own values. So the deeper we know ourselves and our own values, that's where we find the purpose in our being, in the direction of the values of our being. And when you couple that direction of the values with the passion or the love for what we're doing from that being, then that value comes back. So value creation, alignment, values returned, and you can call that profit. So that's the purpose, and the passion generates the profit. In this example of PrimeVax, Tony is a great example because he's doing something that he's passionate about, and he's heart-led, he's very purpose-driven, and he is creating this company that has a potential vaccine for cancer. And this has the potential for impacting, many, many, many millions of lives around the world that have cancer today. So this is a perfect example of an investment that we're making that we believe has an ROI for the future of humanity, and also an ROI of economic value creation. So it's tangibly both. It's not just one or the other. It's holistically, the investment return also has a return on the impact on the future of humanity. Another example I'll give is, another friend, Brian Talaby. He has, that you came to. And I don't know the depths of his business, so I'm not going to go too deep into my understanding of exactly what his platform is doing. But in short, he's upskilling and uptraining workforces for corporations, and leveraging AI to help expand the capabilities and the skill sets of each individual at these large organizations. As seasoned entrepreneurs, we know that one of the biggest costs for us is retention or maintaining retention, or losing people is a high cost, because then you lose them. You have to then go through the hiring process, retrain, get them back to that level. So that you can call that an economic loss of retraining, retooling, rehiring, and not going through that whole cycle. With his tools and using AI, we could say, okay, well, we can actually save that, because then you're not going to lose the person, then have to go through the hiring process and retooling and retraining. So that savings, by just investing in your own people and leveraging AI to upskill people such that they're not letting go, or they're not going somewhere else, or they're not able to keep up with the pace of the innovation or the new skills. Now you have these capabilities where you can help them upskill. So that's another example, because I know how Brian is deeply passionate about education, and he finds purpose in doing his work. And he's a Series A company, so still an early-ish stage. But again, he continues on the path. His trajectory is upward. He continues to get more customers. He continues to grow his revenue. And that's, again, part of that creating profit or creating value, and also making impact for people and organizations.
Both of those are beautiful examples. I mean, vaccine for cancer, that would be incredible. And upskilling right now, I mean, for all the reasons you stated, and things are just changing so radically. There's no training or education anymore that's going to have a lifetime value, right? It's things are just changing so dramatically. So that upskilling is so important. You mentioned earlier the word regenerative, and you talk about building a regenerative future for humanity. A lot of people, when they hear regenerative, they'll think of sort of the sustainability narratives that we often hear. I know you think beyond that. What does regenerative mean to you?
It means an economic system that is sustainable in its own way, meaning it has the flow of energy in, and that energy is not being lost or misused, and all the energy is being recycled in a way where that organization, that entity, are continuing to create more value and more impact. And it's not also being conscious and intentional where that value is retained, and I would say not just going into like a greedy pocket of a few people, right? So it's the economic system is encouraging more abundance for everyone that's part of that organization or that economic system. So Light DAO, for example, is an example of that, because we're structured as a nonprofit. So all the money that's going into the foundation is eternally reinvested back into the mission. And we also have this currency that is empowering more value creation amongst its member DAO owners. So this is a perfect example, because the money's in this closed loop ecosystem, or the energy. And the more the energy the system grows, the more the value of the entire ecosystem grows, and the contributions that are given are returned to each person in this currency, and that the value of that currency can also go up as the value of the entire ecosystem goes up. So everybody is sharing the collective growth of the value of that ecosystem. So that's regenerative, because it's continuously growing itself, and everybody is to the equal pro rata based on their contribution, growing their value relatively.
Beautiful. Kind of to put myself in the shoes of some people who may be listening and sitting in corporations where they don't feel a lot of heart. Words like energy and conscious leadership, et cetera, aren't used. How do people react to you, when you talk like that, when they're in a company that, that's not the MO, but more importantly, how can others kind of bring some of that light into companies that may otherwise be fear driven, not regenerative, and all the antithesis of all the things you've been talking about.
We can go down a rabbit hole of what's the source of that fear, right? So if I were to speak with somebody in a corporation or wherever they are, that's coming from a place of fear, that ultimately that's going to go back to how do we resolve the traumas that happen from childhood. And so then you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to start talking to them about what are the 3 experiences that you remember the most from childhood that shaped who you are today? And why are those the experiences or the memories that come to you first? What about them stands out? And what about that experience or memory is holding you back? And what's a strength? And is there a story that's being told about that experience that continues to be a story that you're playing back over and over again, that keeps you in the past and isn't bringing you into the alignment of the abundance of now? Because the truth is that right now, the thing in the past is not now. And for many people, they are living in the past or the future. You can also say the anxiety about thinking about what's happening in the future, or the stress of thinking about what happened in the past. Both of those are not present in the moment of now. So for me, it'd be going into that conversation and having them see the light, right? And I would use language that, probably doesn't, go into that, but I would have a real conversation and share with them kind of what I've done to help improve myself, because we're all on this journey together, whether or not you're into personal development, personal growth, conscious leadership, impact, social impact, building community, all these core things that we value with Light DAO. I would share my nuggets of wisdom to empower going into these things so we can unlock that fear into love.
Light DAO is very, very global. As I've mentioned, you probably have an updated number, but I know it's about 2,000 members, and you can tell me how many countries, but I know that it's a lot. There's so many perspectives and unique insights gained from building these communities across diverse cultures, which, grounded in a set of values, but still otherwise diverse, which is kind of where we, need to be going collectively as a species right now. How do you help maintain a global vision through that? And what are some of the highlights that you've seen perhaps in other parts of the world that are, examples of a vision of AI that will enhance human potential?
So, like I was in Brazil, for example, a couple months ago, and we had an inaugural gathering there in Rio, and it was quite obvious how the people there are much closer to nature, the Amazon, and thinking about that ecosystem in particular, of the indigenous wisdom, the green energy, what that rainforest does for Mother Earth, and how it's all connected. And I saw this like beautiful image where the Sahara Desert in Africa and the Amazon rainforest of South America are connected, where the kind of the sandstorms and the way the winds flow kind of through the air and the environment are rising from the sands of the Sahara Desert and come and pollinate and do its magic in the rainforest. And it's part of this massive global thing that's happening, and we don't even fully realize how connected everything is. So we're just kind of collectively waking up to all this stuff, right? And so then it's like, okay, well, if that's a thing, and that actually is a part of this connection that we're just starting to realize, these are new sources of information that we can leverage with AI to say, okay, we can accelerate these things, right? Because we've done some damage over the last 100 years. What can we do with climate change and all these changes in weather patterns? Can we actually kind of leverage these new insights and capabilities to accelerate some of the negative impacts that we've made, to accelerate it where we can actually start reversing those trends and coming back to more kind of alignment and harmony across humanity and the global ecosystem and kind of nature, Mother Nature.
Yeah, training AI on another type of organic intelligence, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So I always love closing out with a question around how you believe or what guidance you have for viewers and listeners around how they can, what we call, be the prompt, meaning, shape being the ones that are driving the actions and change that will help ensure a future that uplifts humanity and doesn't diminish it. So based on, all of what we've talked about and all of your wisdom, what would your guidance be? How can everyone be the prompt? Training AI in a way that we want it.
We all have superpowers. Every single one of us has so much potential and so much wisdom to offer and to give. And so when we ask ourselves, that's why I come back to the affirmations from the very beginning, how to be what? The prompt? Well, be, right?
Right.
If I ever have any doubt of how to be or how to respond, it's like, what are my values? What am I sitting with? Who am I? And what is the best response in this moment that is in alignment with my being? So to me, that's it, right? It's knowing yourself and continuing to reimagine and build. And there's a reason why the word believe is being. So our beliefs is the believing of our being. And this is the power that we all have. And it starts with knowing who we are. And actually, this is something that I really, really practice. And this is I'm Persian background. My family are immigrants from Iran. And the word for God in Farsi is Khoda. It's like God, but with like a KH at the beginning with an ah. So like Khoda, Gada kind of. And the first part of that word is Khod is self and Da is knowledge. So Khoda is knowing self. So the point of that is the more we know ourselves, the more we're being the prompt and we're being our ultimate full potential.
Yeah, that nets it out so well. Because a lot of what we believe here at the Humanity Code and think a lot about is that if we are to shape AI in our the best reflections of ourselves, we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand what our humanity is, and what are the light sides and what are the dark sides, and just have that self-knowledge. So what a perfect way to end. Thank you so much, Payam, for being here and for sharing your light. I really, really appreciate it.
Much love. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate you. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Humanity Code Conversations. Remember, our future with AI is being written now and by us. Let's ensure it's a story that honors and elevates our shared humanity.